Good morning and welcome to the HCK PreShow. This morning we have a special announcement to get us started. Coming up on January 22nd and 24th, we have a weekend-long event called The Great Escape. We're going to kick the weekend off on Friday night with an Out of Egypt virtual escape room. This is for kids in grades kindergarten through 5th grade, and you can go ahead and check out the website for more details and to sign up. And then on Sunday morning, January 24th, we're going to have two events. During the pre-show, during this time right now, we're going to be having the Great Desert Baking Show. So this is for kids of all ages. If you'd like to participate in this, you want to make sure that you sign up ahead of time because we're going to mail you a secret ingredient so that you'll be able to participate along with us in the cooking show. And then finally, also on the 24th, during our HCK huddles that happen on the in-person service, we're going to be having the Exodus Challenge. So we hope that you can join us for this fun weekend. This morning, we're going to be diving into the book of Exodus. Check out this video.
Years after Joseph brought his family to Egypt, Joseph died. His family stayed in Egypt. They were known as Israelites because they came from the family of Jacob, who was called Israel. A new Pharaoh came to power, and he was afraid of the Israelites. The family had grown so big. Pharaoh worried they would join Egypt's enemies and fight against him. Pharaoh made the Israelites slaves and gave them very hard work to do, but their families kept growing. Pharaoh ordered for all their baby boys to be killed. Around this time, a woman gave birth to a son. She hid him as long as she could, and then she put him in a basket and set it along the banks of the Nile River. The baby's older sister, Miriam, stayed nearby and watched the basket. Soon, Pharaoh's daughter went to the river to take a bath. She found the basket and saw the crying baby. Pharaoh's daughter felt sorry for the baby and wanted him to be her son. The princess named the baby Moses. When Moses grew up, he saw an Egyptian man mistreating an Israelite man. Moses killed the Egyptian. Pharaoh found out what Moses did and he was angry. So Moses fled Egypt. He worked as a shepherd in Midian for many years. Moses got married and had a family. Still, the Israelite people in Egypt were miserable and they cried out to God. God heard them and he planned to help them. One day, Moses saw a burning bush. The bush was not burning up. Suddenly, God called from the bush, "Moses, Moses." Moses replied, "Here I am." God told Moses to take off his sandals because Moses was standing on holy ground. Then God said, "I have seen how my people are suffering. I want you to lead them out of Egypt to a good land I have for them." Moses wondered if the Israelites even remembered God. What if they ask for your name? What should I tell them? "I am who I am," God said. "Tell them, I am has sent me to you." What if they don't believe me? Moses asked. So God gave Moses 3 miraculous signs to prove that God had appeared to him. Moses' staff would turn into a snake. His hand would become diseased and then healed. And the water from the river would turn into blood. Moses still made excuses and said, "Please send someone else." Now God was angry, but he agreed to send Moses' brother Aaron with him. So Moses went to Egypt. God saved Moses' life and called him to rescue God's people from slavery. The calling of Moses points to a greater calling and rescue, the call of Jesus to come to earth to save God's people. Jesus gave up his life to save us from slavery to sin.
That was quite a story. This morning, we're going to be doing a science experiment to help us recreate the burning bush right here. So to do our science experiment, we need a few simple items that you might even have at home. We need some steel wool. I put mine on top of a stick to make it look like a bush, but you could also just put it in some kind of oven-safe pan, so a baking pan or a cookie sheet. You just don't want it on your counter. And then what you're going to do is you're going to use a 9-volt battery to actually start your bush on fire. Now, just a warning, this is definitely not a science experiment that kids should be doing alone. So kids, if you want to try this, make sure that you have your parents or an adult help you do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to touch our battery to the steel wool, and the battery, when it touches the steel wool, is actually going to complete the circuit, and the electricity is going to heat these little fibers of steel wool up enough that they're actually going to light on fire. But the cool thing is, just like our burning bush in the story, they're going to light on fire, but they're not actually going to burn up. So should we give it a try? Isn't that cool? I love how it sparks like this. Whenever I hear the story of the burning bush, I always love to imagine what I would have done if I was Moses. How would I have responded to hearing God's voice speaking from a burning bush that wasn't actually burning up? Well, in our story today, Moses responded by asking a question, and a very important question. He asked, "Who are you?" He wanted to know what God's name was. And God responded with what I think is a very interesting answer. He said, "I am who I am." One of the most basic and important things to remember about God is that he exists, and God wanted Moses to know that. Another thing that God wanted Moses to know is that he has always existed. God does not change, and he has always existed. God revealed to Moses these things because he wanted Moses to be able to trust him. He also wanted Moses to understand that he was the same God that had made those important promises to Abraham so long ago. He had heard his people crying out, and he had remembered them, and he had remembered that promise. Moses encountered God in a burning bush, and he walked away knowing that he could trust God. When we know who God is, it's much easier to trust him. So your challenge this week, if you choose to accept it, is to make a list of words that describe who God is. Because when we know who God is, it's so much easier to trust him. Stick around. Hope Live begins at 10.